If the FBI wants to spy on a sitting United States senator, they don't just ask nicely. They bring a hammer. But who held the handle, and why did the phone companies play along? That is the question haunting the halls of the Capitol today. We are breaking down a high-stakes exchange between Senator John Kennedy, the man with the southern drawl and a mind like a steel trap, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, alongside FBI Director Kash Patel. Kennedy starts with a hypothetical that is anything but. He's digging into reports that the Department of Justice, under the previous leadership of Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray, may have bypassed standard constitutional protections to grab the phone records of 8 sitting U.S. senators. Watch Kennedy's speech patterns. He uses a folksy Socratic method. He asks Bondi if AT&T would just hand over a senator's records. Bondi, appearing professional but guarded, admits, "No, Senator, of course not." Kennedy is building a cage. He forces her to admit that a subpoena requires probable cause and a judge's signature. But here is the sting. Kennedy points out that Jack Smith, the special counsel, likely bypassed the typical meet and confer process. He's tackling the general counsel loophole. Why didn't the phone companies file a motion to quash? Why didn't they protect their customers' privacy? Kennedy's attitude here is pure incredulous fire. He suggests that instead of acting like corporate citizens, these companies needed to buy some testicles online. It's a raw human moment that cuts through the sterile political atmosphere. Don't go anywhere. We are just getting into the meat of the Epstein blackmail allegations and the shocking testimony regarding Secretary Howard Lutnick. The tension in this room is about to boil over as Kennedy pivots from privacy to pedophilia. If you want to see the moment the Department of Justice is forced to answer for what they didn't find in the Epstein files, keep watching. And if you're finding this breakdown insightful, hit that subscribe button right now. We're the only ones tracking the body language and the hidden agendas in these hearings.
General, welcome. Let's suppose that I'm appointed special counsel at the Department of Justice. And I go to the telecommunication companies, the phone companies. Let's single out AT&T, and I say, look, I know you're busy, but I want to see a copy of the phone records of a sitting United States senator. They're not going to just give them to me, are they?
No, Senator, of course not.
In fact, they're probably going to ask me what planet I just parachuted in from, aren't they?
Yes, Senator.
They're going to tell me to come back with a subpoena, aren't they?
Yes, Senator.
Okay. What do I have to show in that subpoena to get those phone records of a sitting? Did I mention it was a sitting United States senator? I can't remember. What do I have to show to get the phone records of a sitting United States senator?
Yes, Senator, there were actually 8 sitting United States
Yeah, I
senator,
heard that.
and you would have to have cause.
I'm sorry, what do I have to show?
You would have to have cause to get the
Good
subpoena.
cause or probable cause?
Probable cause.
Okay. Probable cause, or if it's a subpoena, deuces take 'em, good cause, to show what?
You would need good cause for a subpoena ducis tecum, and what you would have to show is that you believed a crime had been committed, or there was a possibility of a crime, or that could lead to other crimes. We
By the
frequently, in criminal enterprises, subpoena cell
By the
phones.
sitting United States senator?
Senator, they would have to have believed you were part of a criminal conspiracy, is my understanding.
Would a judge have to sign off on it? On the subpoena?
Yes, Senator. Well, for a subpoena ducis tecum, Jack Smith probably took it straight to the judge.
Now, the phone companies, particularly their general counsel, if they're worried about civil liability, even with a subpoena to get the phone records of a sitting United States senator. Did I mention it was a sitting United States senator?
Yes, Senator.
The general counsel for that phone company, let's say AT&T, They have the right to seek to quash that subpoena, don't they?
Phone companies frequently do that.
Yeah. And a smart general counsel for that phone company is going to call the sitting United States senator and say, would you like to weigh in on this? Would you like me to quash the subpoena? We're talking about invading someone's privacy here by a sitting United States senator. Could the general counsel for the phone company do that?
Well, Senator, if they believe that a crime could have been committed, they could not tip off the person who committed the crime. Again, I can't comment on details of this particular case.
I'm just asking you theoretically.
I've never seen you commit a crime, Senator Kennedy.
But let's suppose, okay, they didn't want to tip off the sitting United States senator. But the phone company and the general counsel for the phone company, or companies, if there were more than one involved, could say, you know, this is serious as an aneurysm. This is serious as 4 heart attacks and a stroke. This is a sitting United States senator. So general counsel would likely advise the CEO, well, you need to file a motion to quash. The telephone companies could have contested those subpoenas, could they not?
Hypothetically, yes. I can't talk about the facts of this particular case.
We're talking hypothetical.
Senator, subpoenas are issued all the time through phone companies working with the general counsel.
But they can file a motion to quash.
They could, yes.
Yeah.
In any case.
And if they should have filed a motion to quash, and a reasonable person would have filed a motion to quash, because this is a sitting United States senator, and they didn't file a motion to quash, they would incur civil liability, wouldn't they?
Senator, typically phone companies follow a subpoena from a United States attorney.
I know they do, but they don't have to.
They could challenge it, Senator.
Yeah. And if they don't challenge it, they better have a damn good reason. Right? Right?
Senator, I can't talk about the facts of this particular
This is just
case.
a hypothetical.
In general, hypothetically, Senator, maybe they didn't recognize any of the names of the 8 sitting United States senators.
Hypothetically.
That was a joke.
Or maybe they should have gone to Amazon and buy some testicles online. Instead of just saying, sure, I'll just show you the phone records of a sitting United States senator on the basis of an administrative subpoena. Now, do you have copies of the subpoena applications for
Yes,
these
Senator,
8?
Senator, I can't discuss anything regarding this
You can't
case
even
with
tell me
you.
if you have copies?
I can't discuss any of this.
All right, when are you going to, General, when are you going to be able to discuss it?
I can't discuss whether there is or is not a pending investigation,
I understand,
Senator.
but
This was
let's
just
assume
brought to light
if
by
there is a
Director
pending
Patel.
investigation, I don't want this to get swept under the rug, okay? Because I think you're going to get pushback from all quarters. I think the telecommunication companies are going to be all over you like a bad rash because they've got liability here for just turning over these records when they knew what was going on. I think some FBI agents may have some liability here. I think a special counsel might have some liability here. If I were your special counsel and you had appointed me and I wanted to get the records of a sitting United States senator, is that something you would expect me to tell you as Attorney General of the United States?
They better have.
Yeah.
And
Do we know in this instance of the 8 sitting United States senators if they told Attorney General Garland?
Senator, I just learned about this very recently, as did Director Patel, and we cannot discuss the details. I don't know many of the details.
Well, maybe we ought to get Attorney General Garland here. Do you know if the special counsel told FBI Director Wray Is that something, let me put it another way. If I were your special counsel and you were the director of the FBI and I'm trying to get the phone records of a sitting United States senator, did I mention it was a sitting United States senator? Is that something that you would expect me to tell you as director of the FBI?
In general, I would believe the FBI would help execute the subpoenas.
Yeah.
To the businesses.
Okay, I want to switch to another subject in the 12 minutes that I have left, since everybody else got to go over. I've got to ask you about this, General. Secretary Howard Lutnick on October 1 gave an interview to the New York Post about Mr. Epstein. And he described Mr. Epstein as, quote, the greatest blackmailer ever, close quote. Have you reviewed that transcript of that interview?
I have not reviewed the transcript, but I saw the clip of it.
Okay. It appears that Secretary Lutnick was Mr. Epstein's next door neighbor. In fact, their townhomes shared a wall. And the reporter that was talking to Mr. Lutnick, she asked how other prominent men could have been associated with Epstein when Mr. Lutnick could immediately sense that he was a, quote, pervert. And then Secretary Lutnick said, or rather the reporter said, did they see it and ignore it? Do you remember that from the interview?
I do.
And Commerce Secretary Lutnick said, no, they participated. And then Commerce Secretary Lutnick goes on to say, quote, that's what his MO was. You know, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was a video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever, blackmailed people. That's how he had money, end quote. Is that true?
Senator, as our July memo said, we did not uncover evidence. This case has gone through 3 administrations, as well as former U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta.
I know that, Pam, but have you interviewed Secretary Lutnick?
No, Senator.
Do you plan to?
If he wants to talk to the FBI or the FBI wants to talk to him, that is more than on.
Don't you think you ought to talk to him after this interview?
Senator, if Howard Lutnick wants to speak to the FBI and if Director Patel wants to speak to Howard Lutnick, absolutely.
Okay. Maybe we ought to get Mr. Lutnick in here too, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Booker.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General, I know there's been a lot of talk about grants. I hate to bring you through this again, but it's really important to my state. New Jersey is one of the top 4 donor states in America, which means
The atmosphere shifts from legal technicalities to a darker, more visceral topic. Jeffrey Epstein. Senator Kennedy brings up Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who was Epstein's next-door neighbor. Lutnick claimed in a New York Post interview that Epstein was the greatest blackmailer ever and that prominent men didn't just ignore the abuse, they participated in video-recorded rooms. The observation here is crucial. When Kennedy asks if this is true, Bondi retreats into the July memo defense. She says they did not uncover evidence. This is a classic D.C. fault line. Kennedy isn't buying it. He's pushing her on a massive loophole. If the neighbor says it was common knowledge and people participated, why hasn't the FBI interviewed Lutnick? Bondi's body language becomes incredibly defensive here. She shifts the responsibility, saying if Lutnick wants to talk to Patel, he can. Kennedy's reaction is what we're all thinking. Don't you think you ought to talk to him? It's a moment where the respondent is completely cornered by common sense. The contrast in this debate is stark. You have Kennedy, who is acting like a man talking to neighbors on his porch, direct, intelligent, and fed up, versus Bondi, who is trying to maintain the integrity of a Justice Department that many feel has lost its way. The reference to the 2-tier system of justice at the beginning of the clip sets the stage, but Kennedy's interrogation proves that the old guard, referencing Garland and Wray, left behind a mess of unanswered subpoenas and unexamined evidence. What is truly shocking is the joke Bondi attempts about the phone companies not recognizing the names of 8 U.S. senators. In a hearing about the violation of constitutional rights, humor fell flat. It felt like an evasion tactic that Kennedy stepped right over to get back to the liability of FBI agents and special counsels. This isn't just about phone records. It's about the accountability of the people who hold the keys to our digital and personal lives. I want to thank you for sticking with us through this deep dive. If you appreciate this kind of professional, no-nonsense analysis that goes beyond the talking points, please subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. It helps us continue to break down these complex political maneuvers and bring you the details that actually matter. Stay tuned and stay informed. See you in the next video.